From the moment that Disney Star Wars Celebration on the stage, Daisy Ridley walked out and Kathleen Kennedy said, hey guys, we know what you want. We know what Star Wars fans have been begging for and craving. More Rey. Then Star Wars fans knew that this is going to be an absolute nightmare, that this movie, the next Star Wars movie to be released, was going to be a disaster because, quite frankly, it's not a story that a lot of people are interested in. After everything we saw from the sequels, people don't want to see Rey go recreate the Jedi Order, do what Luke Skywalker was supposed to do, because Luke Skywalker is such a failure in Disney Star Wars that Rey needs to take up the baton and finish the job for him. But then when they announced who it was going to be, when they announced that a director who has done no big projects like this, no films like this in history, has no experience with this type of movie, and as a self-described activist, she was going to be in charge, well, then people really knew it was going to be dog shit. And now, over 2 years away from this project actually seeing the light of day, if it ever gets completed, you already have massive amounts of fans that are saying, why would Lucasfilm do this? Why would Disney Star Wars, after all the failures they've seen over the past decade plus with Kathleen Kennedy, why would they double, triple, quadruple down on somebody who's only concerned with identity politics and pushing a message instead of actually telling a great story? The culture war is already coming for the Star Wars Rey movie. And you have activist journalists who are saying, why won't Disney stand up for them? It's the same thing you see every single time. Disney Star Wars has had this playbook for a decade at this point. Put out an announcement that people hate for really valid reasons. Not because, well, the director's a woman, so there's backlash. That's not the case. In fact, this was announced 8 months ago. The reason you're seeing a lot of backlash now is because some people who weren't paying attention, I don't know, 8 months ago, when, I made a video on her comments about making men uncomfortable, when I talked about she's a self-described activist, some people weren't paying attention. Some people only found that out a few days ago when an interview from her went viral, talking about how it's about time, it's 2024, it's about time we have a woman shape the story in a galaxy far, far away. That's what it took for normal people in the audience to catch on to this is who this is. We just thought it was a random woman directing Star Wars, but no, she's a massive activist. And she's even been quoted that she puts her activism into everything. And this is not a quote from, 8 years ago, like the making men uncomfortable. This is from 7 months ago, after it was announced that she would be doing a Star Wars movie. Listen to what she has to say.
I think at the heart of everything, I am a storyteller and an activist. And my body of work over the last 20 years has been guided by my activism. And every single piece of work that I've ever created has a piece of activism in it. It could be very overt or it could be covert, but it is there. And I think that as a storyteller, I'm not sure if all of you know this, but I'm not a trained filmmaker. So I never went to film school. I went to Smith College and did my undergraduate and studied economics and political science like a good Pakistani girl. And then I did my graduate studies, but also in international politics. And so I am an accidental filmmaker, but that's why I'm a storyteller, because
I'm an accidental filmmaker, meaning I'm not really qualified to do something like this. And congratulations, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. I'm glad you're passionate about your activism, about telling stories about women from the Middle East who are oppressed, standing up against whatever, some Muslim country. Fantastic. Glad that's out there in the world. That does not qualify you in any way to do a Star Wars movie. So the fact that people out there that are trying to make it seem like people are just sexist because it's a woman directing, that is bullshit. Because this didn't happen when it was announced that she was directing it. All this backlash is happening after people are discovering what Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy is saying, who she is, the fact that she self-describes herself as an activist, and that she puts it into all of her work. And now you're seeing already battleground lines being drawn between the mainstream media, the access media, the shill media, the people who still, after all these years, as irrelevant as Disney Star Wars has become from a ratings perspective, they are still desperate to get the attention of Lucasfilm, to slob on the knob of Lucasfilm, to desperately get some interaction or some traction or some approval. Well, they are being completely blown out of the water, regardless of who it is, because we've seen this before. We've seen, whether it's Lucasfilm themselves, whether it's the media, whether it's their shills that go out there and march to the beat of the drum, we've seen them try to label any and all criticism as, well, you're just racist, you're just sexist, you're just blah, blah, blah. None of that tracks. People don't have any problem with a woman making a Star Wars movie. People have a problem whenever activists come in and decide to do their own thing to a franchise. And that's what we now have heard from Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. That's what it feels like is going to happen. Were people upset at Rian Johnson for The Last Jedi just because he's a man? Are people upset that men are directing Star Wars? No, they're upset because the dog shit he put on screen and everything he said about not respecting everything that came before. Well, now we have a director, regardless of whether she's a woman, regardless of whether she's Pakistani or not. We have a woman who's not only not fucking qualified in any way to be handed the keys to a multi-$100 million project, but we have someone who is actively saying not how much they love Star Wars, not that, oh, I'm honored to be a part of this huge thing, and I just can't wait to continue the legacy of George Lucas and blah, blah, blah. No. Instead, you smirk and you say, it's about time that a woman shaped the story in Star Wars. Not a competent person, just a woman. First of all, we've had a lot of that over the past 12 years with Kathleen Kennedy running Lucasfilm. Certainly no shortage of feminine energy at Lucasfilm, including bitch-ass Dave Filoni. He's probably more feminine than half the women that actually work there. That's why there's a backlash. That's why fans are upset. And that's why, regardless of how much the media tries to gaslight people into saying sexist fans, toxic fans, blah, 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 it's not going to work. It hasn't worked for years, but unfortunately, they have not updated their programming. They're still using the same playbook from years ago, but it's not going to work. Star Wars fans rightly are pissed at Lucasfilm and Disney for hiring yet another activist, and I don't think that backlash is going to slow down anytime soon.